We are the hollow men. We are the stuffed men.
Thank you very much. It's been a while since we've done a live event, isn't it? I think we should probably do a live event. So I persuaded the team, guys, we need to do a big live event. And they were like, that's a great idea. I'm going to crush Harry and the forces of subversion. Then we're going to have an hour-long lads hour, which you'll be able to submit.
I've never specifically made a video about the likelihood of civil war in Britain before.
Now, and obviously we can't show everyone's faces, but there's the best part of 100 people sat in front of me on huge circular tables.
I do have a gate past.
Britain's president and showed him the Area 51 stuff and then said, by the way, it's not actually a proxy war against Russia, it's a proxy war against Europe. Yep.
Not as lost.
And there is also the practical need to demonstrate hierarchy.
As the hollow men.
And I'll give you an example of that
Stuffed
in a moment.
men.
Straight out your face.
It's illegal to film in a public place. Now they've robbed the police. No problem.
Talk us through that thought process. Why rape?
It's a joke at your expense.
The eyes are sunlight on a broken column. There is a tree swinging, and voices are in the wind singing, more distant and more
Sargon, never meant to be. Sargon, born into poverty. He was a Sargon, and he was never meant to be. Sargon, he was born in Swindon Sea. We'll do a show on Sargon one night, but tonight I want to focus on Edward Dutton, the Jolly Heretic. This guy first came to my attention, I think it was around 2022, when a clip of him went viral, and it was of him mincing around Oxford University with a pair of calipers, trying to measure the heads of students, and inevitably being escorted off the campus by campus security. Not the first time in this guy's career. And before his fans start saying, oh, you must have a problem with Ed because you're a leftist and you want to flood Britain with all these brown people, it's nothing to do with that. My hatred of Edward Dutton is deep and profound, deep as the ocean. It's not really about the ridiculous autistic stunts he does for attention and the fact he's a middle-aged man with a wife and child and he's walking around, mincing around, annoying decent people on the street with an instrument of torture, accosting normal people, superior people to him on the street with these vox pops. You know, they probably presume he's from established media, or even they just think, oh, this strange little man, let's give him 5 minutes of our time. And he thrusts a microphone in their face and a camera, and he says, this is a nice place, do you agree? Oh, yes, it's a lovely place. Is that because there's no black people here? And then you watch their faces, and, you know, they don't want to be openly racist on camera, imagine that. And then his fans are like, so he told you it was about the boomers. What's this country come to? He doesn't want to say fuck black people on camera to some mutant. Got them. And it's just so tedious. How is it any better or different than some gutter rap BBC journalist going up north, waiting outside pubs, waiting for some man who's had 4 pints, thrusting a microphone in his face and getting him to say something disparaging about Muslims, clipping it out and putting it on Newsnight? How is that any different than the stuff that Edward Dutton and Edward Dutton adjacent people do? There is no difference. Anyway, I initially dismissed him as just another goofball trying to get his 15 minutes, trying to get a little bit of those slot bucks from the lonely souls who inhabit the online dissident right. But he really insists upon himself. He keeps showing up in all these shows, all the old staples. Prince of Apollo, Richie Spence, Millennial Woes is Millennial, the ETH Bull, Lotus Eaters, well, that's ubiquitous. And I don't want to be too mean about the Lotus Eaters. I generally don't dislike all those guys. I mean, we've really got to separate Sargon from his little Oliver Twist, the factory master, the Victorian factory master from the herd. I do have a special form of contempt for the phone shop manager come factory master, parvenutic, nouveau riche Sargon. Thumbs in his pockets, stop, watch out, making sure the content gremlins get churning out, because Sargon's got to make his bucks, baby. He's got stepsons to pay for. Sargon needs that content, that sweet, sweet content now, and if you're not going to deliver it, get out the studio. I'm not above admitting that I despise Edward Dutton on a spiritual and physical level, and I despise all of his fans. See, the problem with old Ed and his fans is they are what they lament. They are the rise of the mutant, the rise of the weirdos, the rise of the ostracized. I'm just going to say he can't walk straight. There's something wrong with him physically. And I wouldn't usually make fun of that, but when you make your whole thing about shitting on the mutant class, the underclass, the people beneath you, when you can't walk, you're a confirmed plagiarist, a confirmed weirdo autistic spaz. You know, I would estimate about 40% of his fan base. Let me look at the stats. Yeah, about 40% of his fan base have motor skill issues. And it's just something about him. It's like, you know when you're at school and there's just that certain guy, you're just having a bad day, and I don't condone this, but you're just like, just fucking get in the toilet. I don't want to hear about selection criteria, Ed. You've got chewing gum in your hair and piss on your bag. All the boys playing football at lunch, getting their first kiss, and Ed in the corner, performatively, not even really, performatively reading a book. Oh, well, I've read here that actually autistic spurs are the real Obermensch. Okay, Ed. Everything about this guy, it's all a LARP. It's all a cope. It's all about validating his blatant inferiority and that of his fans. And that's wouldn't even be too bad if that was all he was. But let's talk about the money. Let's talk about the plagiarism. Let's talk about Dugin and Arktos Media and the university degree mill of Russia giving out all these honorary degrees to all these influencers. Does the mind not rebel when you see all these influencers? And they all live these comfortable middle-class houses. Well, I don't know about Ed. I mean, he does seem to live in Finnish communal housing. But let's be honest, Ed should probably have a carer. It begs the question, how are these people affording these upper middle-class, middle-class lifestyles? They don't come from wealthy families, we know that. They don't really get that many views. The numbers don't quite add up. And then you look at their connections. Alexander Dugin, Arktos Media, a literal Russian intel disinfo operation. The Russian Polytechnic from which he received an honorary degree. If you know anything about intelligence, they look for fallen men. They look for men who are hard done. And Ed, at this point, when he started coming into the picture, he'd just been done for plagiarizing his own student. Yes, his own student. I mean, the dishonor of it. The dishonor of it. Intelligence agencies, they look for down and outs like this. You know, he's in the bar nursing his wounds, and some Russian guy come up and said, "Aren't you Edward Dutton, the guy who writes about the spiteful mutants?" "Oh, yes, that's me. Yes, I'm wrong." Next thing you know, he's on the speaking tour. He's getting his books printed by Arktos. He's on all the shows who just so happen to be linked to Arktos. And Richard Spencer, who at this time had him on his show, he has now admitted that most of the alt-right from this period, and probably still to this day, was basically a Russian intel psyop. And if you can't trust his word, the leader of it, the guy who made it, the guy who had all the connections, the Prince of Apollo, then who can you believe? Crypto wallets full of Ethereum, 30k of Ethereum. All these whiskey funds that just get, a couple £100 dropped in now and then. Speaking fees for basically droning on into a crowd of drunk parasocial imbeciles. And you might call me a tinfoil head, and that's fine. But do you remember, this is how they operate, do you remember that Northumbrian separatist movement? All the SNP accounts, the Cornish accounts, the Welsh accounts, All these separatist accounts in the UK that just suddenly overnight went offline around about the time that Iran was bombed, who obviously Iran and the Russians are completely linked in their intelligence services. They're one and the same, essentially. And there's many such cases. It's all a bit, I want to say this. I'm not going to say this, but I want to say they're traitors. They're absolute traitor scum. I wouldn't say that, but I want to say they're traitors to Britain. And on an aesthetic level, these guys, it's not cutting it, is it? I don't think I want to live or be part of a movement. Well, I am not part of a movement. I never have been, but you know what I mean. I kind of have some sympathy for the viewpoints of people that call themselves, the douchebags that call themselves part of the movement. And when I look at their gods, their tiny gods, I just think, nah, not for me. And when I see somebody like Edward Dutton prancing around, making fools of ordinary old people on the street just because they don't want to say, get them all out, or whatever it is, I just think, what are you? Where did you come from? I think the best thing with people like Ed is not really to address his arguments. I don't really give a shit about his arguments. It's just to say, you're going on about the spiteful mutants, the underclass, which I'm not a socialist, but I think the British working class / underclass are probably some of the greatest people in the world. And then I look at somebody like Edward Dutton, can't even fucking walk straight, got a fake accent, fake degrees, everything about him's fake, and I just think, you know what, Ed, shut up. I really have no time for people like him and Sargon, Millennial Woes, Morgoth, all these guys. Who are these guys, really? They came from nowhere. All their fans are absolute cretins. And these are the guys, the saviors of Britain. This is your dissident, right? Millennial Woes, in his disheveled appearance, in his mad room filled with cans of Coke and God knows what else. I look at him and he seriously says things like, if I would have been advisor to a king in a better age. I just... But when you see them all like this, the pleading, the buying me coffees, the whiskey funds, the £1,000 speaking engagements, and you think the legion of fans that follow them, these are the guys? Why is Millennial Woes sitting in his own piss? Oh, it was the Jews. It was the Jews that made him sit in his own piss and fall into depression. Oh, why is Edward limping around like a mincing fanny? Oh, it's actually because he's autistic, and that means he's an Ubermensch. And all the working class people, they're scum, They're scumbags. But Ed, Moscow Ed, plagiarist Ed, he's a good guy. He's one of the good guys. Anyway, praise the Lord. And, have a nice night, and God bless. Bye-bye.
Legal to film in public place.
I'm sorry. I'm just not happy. And it's huge. And it's huge. And it's huge. And it's huge. I'm going to crush Harry and the forces of subversion.